Hey everybody, Pastor Josh here at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, and we are continuing our interview series. And today I have Nathan Frojelin.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thanks for doing this, man. All right, so Nathan, you are in college, right?
Yes.
Where are you going to school?
So I go to Gonzaga in Spokane, Washington.
And you are, what year are you?
I just finished my sophomore year.
You just finished your sophomore year, so you're not in school right now.
Nope, classes are all done.
And what are you majoring in?
My major is mechanical engineering.
Do you have any kind of what do you want to do with mechanical engineering?
So there's a lot of things you can do with it. I don't really know what specifically I'm going to do. Anything from medical devices to aerospace, automotive work, anything like that. I don't really know. All those things are really interesting to me. So we'll kind of see what happens. I'm still trying to get a feel for it, figure out what I'm going to do.
What got you interested in that?
So I would say I chose engineering in my junior year of high school. Just when I took physics for the first time, I loved it, and I knew that was something I definitely wanted to do. I really wanted a math heavy field because I've just always loved math, and I know that's something that not everyone likes. And so just from that, I kind of worked my way into engineering. I also really love cars, so that was a big thing that kind of pushed me towards mechanical engineering.
Is there a sense, I don't know mechanical engineering really. Is there a sense that you also have to be like good with your hands, like tinker with things? Is that your experience of this?
That's a good way to get experience. When you're actually working, that doesn't always happen all that much. There are different technicians, different kind of blue collar jobs that do most of the hands-on stuff. But you need that experience to know how to design things properly. Because an engineer who's, say, designing a car will make it however they want to. If they haven't been a mechanic before, if they haven't tried to work on a car, they're not going to know what's easiest for doing something simple, something people should be able to do themselves, like changing the oil. You have to
Oh
have the
yeah,
hands-on experience to kind of know or to kind of guide your designs.
that makes a lot of sense. Because sometimes you'll look at a car, you'll be like, why did they put that thing right there? That doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. Are you a person who works on your own car?
I
Are
don't have
you?
the money to have my own car. I would love to. Yeah, no. And my parents aren't about to let me, play around with their cars.
Copy that.
I
Copy that.
Yeah, so definitely something I really want to do. I watch a ton of YouTube videos on this, how engines work, how transmissions work, stuff like that. I love to learn all these things, and I would love to work on those things on my own when I
Yeah.
have the chance.
Yeah. So do you feel like when you do this, you want to do mechanical engineers, is it's like you do from you design the concept and then somebody else puts it together? Is that how that works?
So you
Or
make so 3D modeling is a really big thing. So
okay.
you make the design, and you can test it in certain programs, but you need to actually have it manufactured to get real world testing. So that's where kind of it shifts to the technicians who do the testing. You have to take that data, apply it, revise your design, and make sure it works. But
Yeah,
engineers, again, have to have that experience to know what they're doing.
right. And surely there has to do with you would have to take into account like the weight of something and the material that's used and that sort of stuff in order for it to be like, is that something you all take into account too, or does that something somebody else does?
It's something you definitely try to take into account because you want to make sure you get your design as close as possible to what it's going to be. Because a lot of programs now are really good for testing your designs, but until you actually put it into practice, you're never going to know
Right.
how it's really going to work.
Have you had any ability to through classes or working have some experience with this yet?
Yeah, so I do two different clubs at Gonzaga. I am in the Rocket Club and one called RoboSub. RoboSub makes an autonomous robot submarine to do a bunch of tasks underwater. And there's no control once you put it in. It just does its thing. You program it to do whatever it's got to do. So I have worked with those two clubs and done some design for those.
That's that's really cool. The submarine, it's designed to act autonomously. Like it does its thing. That's
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, so for RoboSub is really cool because you have a bunch of different teams working on it. Um, Mechanical engineers make the kind of the frame, and for the different tasks it has to do, like for one, it has to pick up something with a claw and then drop it somewhere else. The mechanicals design that. And then you have the electricals, and you do the wiring to make the motors run. And then you have the computer science team who programs it to do all of these things, to read the data that it's getting from the inputs, and to do all of the tasks.
That's really cool, man.
Yeah.
Uh, so you're not in school right now. When did you come home?
So this semester was a little different because I was studying abroad. I was in Florence. So I came home on March 1st. The Gonzaga Spokane campus came home 2 or 3 weeks later. There are actually some people still up there if they were working on campus or anything like that. I came home earlier because I was in Italy, and obviously Italy was hit pretty hard with the virus towards the beginning. So that's kind of how I ended up home early.
Did the school pull you out, or did Italy kick you out?
The school told us to go home.
Got it. Got it.
Well,
And
and then Italy, the government closed all the schools like a week later anyway.
were you studying language there?
No, so engineers have to take a lot of credits, and we don't have a language requirement. Every other major who studies abroad has to know the language, or has to take at least one class in the language of their host country before they go. We don't. So I don't speak Italian. I knew nothing about Italian before I went. Luckily, most people in Europe speak English, so it was pretty easy to travel around, just kind of do different things. But no, there was no language requirement for us.
That's cool. How long were you in Italy for?
For 2 months. The program was supposed to go for 4. I was there for 2 months.
Was there anything that you really loved about Italy? What was your experience for the 2 months that you were there?
Oh, I loved Italy. The food is amazing. Most of Europe is like that, but especially Italy, the food is amazing. Everything is really high quality, and for the price they sell things at, it's just all so good. That was one thing. Another thing I loved, especially about Florence, and I suppose other cities in Italy too, is you can walk everywhere. Once you're in the city, uh, it's an experience every time you go outside, because they recycle a lot of their older buildings. I think the building I was staying in, most of the buildings in Florence are from the 15 or 1600s and haven't really changed since then. The inside has, but not the outside. So
Right.
every time you go outside, it's an experience and you see something new.
That's awesome. Was there anything that surprised you or caught you off guard when you're like, oh my gosh, I'm looking at this piece of art that I knew about, but now I'm seeing it in person.
Yeah, definitely in Rome, when I went to the Colosseum, because that's something I've seen a lot of pictures of and heard a lot about. But it's really different when you turn the corner and it's just there it is.
That's really cool, man. That's really cool. Did you go inside the Coliseum and
Yeah,
did
we
you?
got to go. We got to walk in, up top and then down onto the stage. So yeah, it was really
Ooh,
cool.
that's awesome. Did you go to when you were in Rome? Did you go to Vatican
Yes, went to the
City?
Vatican and went to and after the Vatican tour, went into St. Peter's Basilica.
Ooh, nice, nice. That's awesome. Well, I'm sorry you had to leave the program early, man. Uh,
Yeah, it was.
that's a
I know
bummer.
I'm really thankful for the time I had there, but I still feel like I'm missing out on something.
Sure, sure. Uh, are you? I know that from your mom that you are from San Carlos. Like you
Yes.
have you grown up in the same house all your life?
Yeah, so I'm sure my mom mentioned this in her interview. We're living in the house that she grew up in.
Wow.
So been living in the same house my whole life. Yeah.
Right. And you've been going to HTLC for most of that time too, right?
I was baptized to Holy Trinity, I believe.
Baptized.
Baptized and confirmed.
Wow, man. Look at that. That's really cool. Um, all right. So do you have any I mean, I heard about the two clubs you're part of. Do you have any hobbies or passions? Like what do you like to do?
So I think most recently, with being in quarantine, I've got to find different things to do at home. So one of the things I've been doing is trying to learn how to code. I've been learning Python. So
What's
that's
it called?
just something that's what? Sorry.
Python? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Python, cool. And what have you what is there have you created anything yet, or are you just kind of learning the language?
I'm still learning it. I haven't written anything with it yet. Still very basic, but it's just something I want to learn how to do. A lot of internships I've applied for want skills like that, want to know how to code. So I just thought it would be something interesting, and yeah, I'm just going for it.
Is it like an online class that you're taking? Is there what is it? How are you learning to code right now?
I'm trying not to spend money, so I'm using YouTube tutorials as much as
Oh,
possible.
right on. Right on.
Yeah.
I use YouTube for almost everything when it comes to trying to learn how to do something that's out of my wheelhouse. I'll just I'll just put it into YouTube. And I think most people do that nowadays, you know.
Yeah, for sure, because there's so much stuff on there that
In fact, one of the things I'm working on doing is live streaming at the church. And so I've just watched a ton of YouTube videos on how to live stream
nice.
and how to make that happen. Is there anything about coding that you like, or what do you find challenging about it? What's
Troubleshooting is a big thing when your code doesn't run. That's it's a terrible feeling. But on the flip side of that, when your code does run, when it finally says code compiled, it feels amazing.
to have something that works, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um, that's cool. And any other hobbies or anything that you really like?
Yeah, so when I'm at Gonzaga, I already mentioned the clubs I do. Sports have also been a big part of my life. Main one for college anyway has been ultimate frisbee.
Ultimate Frisbee.
Yes.
Really? That's so cool. Do they have a course there?
It's
Isn't Ultimate Frisbee?
oh no. You're thinking about disc golf. That's something
Oh,
completely
that's what
different.
I'm thinking.
I
Okay.
do that too, and that's a lot of fun. But ultimate frisbee is, I know it's relatively new. It only really started to get popular, I think, 10 or 20 years ago. Compared to other sports, relatively new. It's played on a big field, like soccer sized field, 7-on-7, and once you catch the disc, you're not allowed to move.
Oh, yes. Okay, I know. Okay, yes, I know this game. I've played this game before. So you're playing that a lot when you're able to gather with people.
Yeah. So we have a competitive team at Gonzaga.
A competitive team. Do you,
Yeah, it is. It's a competitive sport. It's a club sport. So it's not at the official D1 level. I mean, it's not a D1 schools have it. Most colleges do. Um, but it's not like an official NCAA sport. It's there is a big like national tournament for it. There's a national governing organization, and the national championships are played on are broadcasted on ESPN every year. So
really
I think eventually it's going to make it to NCAA varsity status, but it's not quite there yet.
fascinating? I had no idea it was that big of a deal. That's really cool. Does it? So you play other schools and you travel around playing them? Is that what happens?
Yeah, so Gonzaga is in Spokane. We've played tournaments in Spokane. Also traveled to Montana to play a tournament out there. Went down to Salt Lake City for a big regional tournament, and then played a few over in Seattle and one down in Oregon.
Man, that's really fun. That's cool. Um, do you have a position that you play or
Yeah, so there's two positions. There's handlers and cutters. Handlers are typically better at throwing. Cutters are typically really fast, can super athletic, can jump high, stuff like that. And
and
so
which
I'm
are you?
usually a handler.
Got it. Got it. Right on. That's cool. Um, we so what? So you've been in college. This is your second year. You just finished your second year.
Yes.
What has been the biggest change for you from being in high school to college? What has been, you know, what have you liked about it? What's been challenging for you?
All right. I think well, an obvious change is that I'm not living at home. I'm with, just a bunch of friends. in a dorm room. So in that sense, you have to be able to take care of yourself a little more and be independent. In terms of classes, one of the biggest changes is that it's a lot more professional, I guess. No one's making you be there. You're there because you want to be there. Because high school is required, college isn't. You're there because you want to be there. So it's your responsibility because you're paying for it to pay attention.
Yeah. So do you feel like that kind of responsibility to show up and get the job done?
Yeah, definitely.
Right on. You are, how old are you?
I'm 19.
You're 19. So you're an adult, but you're still a teenager. And you are still figuring out who you are and still figuring out the person that you're going to be. What do you think, when you think of like characteristics or virtues, or who do you want to be? What kind of person are you trying to become right now?
I think a few values I guess are really important to me are trust. I want to trust other people. I want other people to be able to trust me and rely on me. Want to be honest as much as possible. Want to be respectful of other people. And I want to have goals and have things to work towards.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really cool. Do you find that is there a particular reason why like trust is so important to you, or you know, has this come out of anything for you, or is it just, this is just something you value?
I think it's just something I value because trust is such a hard thing to earn. And once you lose it, it can be really hard to get it back. So trust is really important to me for that.
Yeah, right on. Very cool. All right, let's talk a little about faith. When I say the word faith, what is faith to you? How would you define it? How would you describe it for yourself?
All right. Faith, I think for me, is a trust or a belief in something, even if you can't see it or feel it directly.
Yeah. And how would you say that you live this out? Or how would you say this affects your life at all? Or if it affects your life? I don't know, maybe it doesn't.
I would say it's pretty important. I think it's important to know who you are, know what your beliefs are, and to try to stick to that as much as possible. Know that you're going to make mistakes. You're not always going to be, perfect. But to know that you gotta kind of work towards keeping that relationship with God and with your church.
Yeah.
And you're trying to do that in your everyday life.
Yeah. I think that's a really important point, because I feel that sometimes there's a perception in the church that we have to be perfect in order to be there. You hear the joke like, "Oh, I can't go to a church because I'll get set on fire going in there." You've heard people talk.
Yeah, I've heard that
talk like this, because I'm such a sinner or whatever, right? And so there's this perception that only good people or only perfect people or people who are, holy go to church. And the fact is that it's not. It's for people who mess up, right? And I think a core part of being a Christian is just admitting when you're wrong, and seeking forgiveness from people and God when we're wrong. And so that you're already on that track is kind of a big deal, because and I think it's really cool to hear from somebody who's 19, because my experience of sometimes, and I don't want to say all teenagers or young adults, I can say for myself, I always wanted to be right when I was 19. I thought I knew. I remember thinking like, oh, I know so much more. And I never liked to admit when I was wrong. you know, and looking back on that, I'm like, oh, that's so ridiculous. You know, why did I do that? So that you are already embodying that sort of humility, I think is going to get you far. And I think when you're touching on like what you value, and you said respect, I want to respect other people and, you know, have people respect me. I think that's part of the humility aspect of it, right? Is you can learn from everybody and respect people for who they are. And so I just I think that's really great, man. I think that's really great that you
Thank you.
are the person you are.
I liked one of the things you talked about with forgiveness and admitting that you're wrong. That's the way a lot of people find the church, is they say, I've screwed up, I want to make myself better. And that's how they end up in a church, in a community.
Right. I think that's, you know, a person a long time ago said, and this is 1600 years ago, you know, the church is a hospital. It's not a place for holy people. It's really a hospital for those of us who are sick, you know. And that's the way that's the way I like to think about church too, is we are seeking healing and wholeness together. And naturally, sometimes we're going to step on each other's toes. We're going to make each other mad. We're going to need to seek forgiveness from each other, and we're going to do it wrong sometimes. But the fact is that we're doing it together, and and we're seeking forgiveness from each other, you know, which is why I think it's good to, like, if you just messed up, say you messed up, admit you're wrong. Like, it's okay. We'll move on, you know? So anyways, since you have been a lifelong member of HTLC, what is your hopes for our church? Do you have any hopes for our congregation?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is that I want us to continue to grow, because we are a relatively small community, and throughout the years I've seen the amount of people that go to church kind of go up and down. I would like to see us continue to grow, because it wasn't, I don't know how long ago it was, I think 5 years or so, that maybe a little longer, since we remodeled. We have a beautiful church, we have a great community. I want to see us continue to grow.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having a conversation with me today. And I just really appreciate you. And I just can't wait to see how everything turns out for you, man. And the adult that you continue to become. And I'm just, I'm very grateful and honored that I get to be part of that as your pastor. So
Thank you.
And thanks for interviewing today.